I'm Adrian, and today we're taking a look at 10 martial arts myths.
Number 10.
We begin with one of the most popular comments on my channel when I started making martial arts content a couple years ago. I would usually talk about a martial art, and then the comment would read something along the lines that said martial art I was discussing wasn't a martial art at all. This happened with Krav Maga, Taekwondo, ninjutsu, and even boxing, among others. And they all have their own reasoning behind it. Krav Maga is not a martial art because it was developed in a combat setting and isn't meant for sparring. Jeet-Kune-Do was meant to transcend martial arts. Ninjutsu is an art of espionage and infiltration, not fighting. And boxing is focused on punching, so it therefore isn't a martial art. While some of these statements do have aspects that ring somewhat true, it certainly doesn't disqualify the respective style from being classified as a martial art. The simplest definition can be found in Encyclopedia Britannica, which defines it as any of various fighting sports or skills. But as a martial artist myself, I tend to find Wikipedia's definition much more accurate. At its core, martial arts are codified systems and traditions of combat, practiced for any number of reasons, be it self-defense, military and law enforcement, competition, physical and mental entertainment, etc. And if you want to get even more technical, some experts have gone on to define a martial art as having to possess the following qualities. That it be used in a warlike setting or self-defense or combat situation. This obviously deriving from the word martial. That it have a codified system of combat practices. The techniques aren't random. It enables a practitioner's mental or spiritual development. It gives you that sense of confidence, of mental fortitude. That it preserves some kind of cultural heritage. So let's go back to the previous examples and see how they all fit in this definition as well. Krav Maga is used for self-defense as well as military and law enforcement. The techniques certainly aren't random either. They are systematically taught and based off of your natural movements in a self-defense scenario. It's also the shining star of the Israeli army, and its techniques are taught in both civilian and military settings. Jeet-Kune-Do was developed by Bruce Lee and was based on his knowledge of Wing Chun, a form of Kung Fu, one of the oldest branches of Chinese martial arts. Bruce Lee's thoughts on martial arts are probably the most well known too, always seeking some form of personal reflection or enlightenment. Boxing can be used in a warlike setting, has incredibly consistent and codified techniques, and dates as far back as the ancient Greek and Roman cultures. Ninjutsu is a proud part of Japanese culture and finds its roots in stealth and espionage in a warlike setting. So bearing all this in mind, why do certain practitioners still refuse to label certain martial arts as such? It's a complex situation, and probably has more to do with some martial artists wanting to feel more special than others. It may sound silly, but this is a very real sentiment that certain practitioners feel. This will be explored in depth further on in the video. But for now, let's dispel with the myth that certain martial arts aren't actually martial arts for X, Y, or Z reason. Because they are.
Number 9.
This is probably one of the most fundamentally misunderstood pillars of martial arts. For some, the word martial art only brings to mind people breaking 10 boards with only one strike, or Jean-Claude Van Damme delivering yet another dazzling jump spin hook kick. Then there are martial arts that barely involve any movement at all, and are mostly close quarters techniques, usually involving punching and heavy use of elbows. Some are based on ground combat. And as such, certain martial arts get lumped into some sort of ethereal category full of complex looking and acrobatic techniques that are labeled fake, and others are thrown into the real pile. But this is a very misguided and factually incorrect way of looking at these martial arts. For example, in Taekwondo, you're taught a vast array of amazing kicks, but you're also taught simple to execute techniques, like the roundhouse and sidekick. So while you probably wouldn't throw the aforementioned jump spin hook kick to defend yourself, you could very easily throw a sidekick to the gut or the knee. The acrobatic stuff isn't fake, it just has its time and place. It's extremely hard to land a kick that complex in a real world scenario, but it's not impossible. And God help whoever's on the receiving end of any spin hook kick. Just see any Taekwondo knockout video. Those are very real. This goes for other martial arts with flashy techniques as well, like Wushu Kung Fu. They have plenty of acrobatic techniques, but they also have techniques that are quick to execute and designed to work in everyday scenarios. And then you have martial arts that don't really have acrobatic techniques. Arts that are hyper-focused on self-defense, like Krav Maga or Jiu-Jitsu, as almost every single one of their techniques is not flashy at all. Most of them are tailored to self-defense situations, like defending someone grabbing your wrist or your lapel, or even threatening you with a weapon. This is usually why they get labeled as real martial arts. But at the core of it all is that all these previously mentioned martial arts are very real. They are not fake just because they can be acrobatic.
Number 8.
this is a very common and easily understood feeling amongst people who have never trained before, and relates a lot to the previous myth. You look at someone like Michael J. White, Scott Adkins, or Bruce Lee, and you think that fighting that well is something unobtainable and too complex. Maybe all you want to learn is how to throw a good punch or move well in a fight. The great thing about martial arts is that each style has its own specialty and so many techniques cross over into one another in teaching you how to fight. And within every martial art, there are many degrees of difficulty within the techniques. Some are easier to perform than others, some require plenty of training, some not that much. But depending on how much you train, it's how much you will get out.
Number 7.
Martial arts teach you how to defend yourself, and there are some that are even dedicated to making your opponent feel little to no pain, such as Judo or Aikido. Judo literally means the gentle way. However, learning how to strike and grapple is not the be-all, end-all purpose to martial arts. When you're training, you gain balance, speed, strength, endurance, and confidence in knowing that you are not helpless, or even rise through the ranks if your chosen style has them. You'll gain even more benefits. You will likely be more dedicated and more driven to achieve your goals, and you'll also learn about your own body and see which techniques are best suited to you. The benefits in training in martial arts are simply innumerable.
Number 6.
While there are several techniques within martial arts that are quite effective in preventing certain attacks, unfortunately there is no one technique, deadly or otherwise, that will always save you from a self-defense situation or guarantee victory in a fighting situation. The technique may not land, the environment you're in may work against you, you may not have enough time to execute it properly, your opponent may know the exact counter to the technique you're throwing, your opponent may be too strong and resist it, etc., etc. There are dozens of reasons that something could go wrong, and your one technique just won't work. So while it is great that you know that technique really well, it's definitely not a good idea to place all your confidence into it and not bother learning anything else.
Number 5.
Achieving a legitimately earned black belt in any martial art is no small feat. It takes years of dedication and thousands of hours of practice. However, it is naive to assume that just because you achieve that rank, you're effectively unbeatable. There are far too many variables in a fight, or in a self-defense scenario, and many of them have nothing to do with your belt rank. Where are you fighting? Is he bigger or stronger? Is your opponent also a trained fighter? Is he former military? So while having that black belt, and when I say black belt, I mean the knowledge and skill that comes with it, will most definitely give you a leg up in almost any fighting situation, it does not guarantee victory at all.
Number 4.
This myth is one of the bedrocks of martial arts films. It's awesome to see our action hero dispatch wave after wave of enemies, but this isn't an accurate representation of what would happen. While learning martial arts is very beneficial and would theoretically allow you to fend off multiple attackers, it is highly unlikely this scenario would work out. Yes, there have been situations that have been caught on street cameras where the lone martial artist is able to fend off completely untrained attackers, but this isn't an everyday occurrence. What will most likely happen is that you will get blindsided and attacked by someone behind you or completely out of your line of vision, or someone will bring a weapon or a 6'7" friend. In other words, it becomes more and more unlikely that you can win this fight. If you're trained, you will be able to defend yourself, but you can still be overwhelmed and attacked in the back of your head as well as your sides. Any of those hits in a real-world scenario could be fatal. And unlike in the movies, in real life, they won't take turns in attacking you.
Number 3.
Also brought on by martial arts films, where the smaller skilled hero defeats the stronger and bulkier villain. Unfortunately, besides films, some martial arts schools also use this in their marketing, claiming that if you learn their techniques, you can overpower someone bigger and stronger than you. And similar to the point above, while this can theoretically happen given perfect circumstances, it's not guaranteed. Maybe the bigger and stronger opponent is just as well trained as you are. So now he has you beat in strength, size, and skill. Maybe he doubles your weight, so many of your ground fighting techniques just physically won't work on him because you don't have the leverage to execute them. Maybe he's simply too strong and can resist your counterattack. Again, it would be foolish to assume that because you're trained, you could take down anyone, even someone that is both bigger and stronger than you. In sum, you are much better equipped to deal with this threat than someone who is untrained, but you are still fighting an uphill battle.
Number 2.
Sadly, there are several practitioners out there who enjoy putting down other martial arts that aren't their own. I've seen it in the comments on my channel, and I've read it on forums, and even heard it firsthand as I've trained in multiple styles over the years from other practitioners. As with all the other myths on the list, this one is factually untrue. Every single martial art has its strengths and weaknesses. That's how it is. Therefore, none of them are useless. And if you'd be interested in learning more about martial arts, including boxing and Muay Thai, I've got the perfect opportunity for you. You can learn the basics of boxing with a short and informative series on Skillshare called Intro to Boxing by Michael Triana. I personally find the videos an excellent reference to brush up on my boxing technique, as it goes over core concepts in footwork and balance, strength and conditioning drills, and useful punching combinations. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. Most classes are also under 60 minutes with short lessons, so you don't feel overwhelmed and can learn at your own pace. And if you'd like to learn about something other than martial arts, Skillshare offers classes on several other topics including illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. In the film and video category alone, there are classes on editing, cinematography, and do-it-yourself filming. It's curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes, so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. If learning martial arts or any other topic interests you, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. And now, let's go to our number 1 myth in martial arts.
Number 1.
Just as mentioned previously, go to forums or search online and you will find absolutely no shortage of people claiming that this one particular martial art is the best there is and nothing else comes close. The truth is, as stated previously, every martial art has its strengths and weaknesses. Want to be a wrecking ball when it comes to using your fists? Take up boxing. Want to focus specifically on weapon self-defense scenarios? Try Krav Maga. Maybe you want to be a master of grappling techniques. Judo or wrestling would be amazing. Or maybe you want that grappling experience, but you also want that emphasis on ground combat. Jiu-Jitsu would be perfect for you. Perhaps you care more about kicking, then Taekwondo or Savate would be right up your alley. Maybe you're extremely interested in wrist locks. Aikido would be excellent in that kind of training. Or perhaps you like striking with both your arms and legs. Muay Thai would fit perfectly, and so on and so forth. Note that all these martial arts have strengths in certain areas, but by that very nature, that means they have weaknesses in others. Martial arts that focus on grappling techniques often include little to no striking techniques. Striking martial arts often feature very little to no grappling. Martial arts that focus on self-defense usually have no sparring in their classes. And martial arts that have a bit of everything usually don't have the depth needed to be proficient in everything, etc., etc. Furthermore, getting past the innate strengths and weaknesses of every style, it also very much depends on your teacher, your training, and your particular skills. In a vacuum, all these martial arts are theoretically effective. It just also depends on how skilled you are and in what conditions you have to fight. So there is no such thing as the best martial art. All martial arts have strengths and weaknesses, and their effectiveness is directly linked to the scenario at hand, as well as the skill, speed, and strength of the practitioner. Which myth on the list had you heard of before? Which myths have you heard of recently? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to check out my top 10 playlist. Subscribe for more awesome content, and see you next time. This episode of Top 10 was sponsored by Skillshare. I'd like to thank each one of my Patreon members, as their contribution helped in the making of this video. If you'd like to contribute and appear in the credits in the future, my Patreon page is Godzillarex and it's in the description below.